7 of Adrian Gonzales trial wrapped up on Wednesday, and here's what happened. It's a great day for a great day. My name is Sydney Rushing. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of Michigan. Now let's talk about it. The morning started off with a hearing outside the presence of the jury because the prosecution wanted to question a proffer witness. Now this was Michael Whitskall, and a proffer witness is somebody who is not currently a witness but could become a witness. And so they do this hearing to show what their testimony would be, basically offer up their testimony so everyone understands what it's going to be about. He was Officer Gonzales' training officer for the active situation training that he attended, and he was granted witness status by the judge, meaning he could testify at some point. And the jury was brought in, and witness number 25, Melody Flores, was called to the stand. She is a teacher's aide at Robb Elementary. While eating lunch the day of the incident, she heard something come over the school radio. She didn't hear the first message, but heard the second where they said that there was a pew-pewer jumping the fence and that he had a pew-pew. She took her radio and ran outside. She ran outside because she knew who was outside at the time and who wasn't. She first saw the monster in the corner of campus where the ACs are at. She described him as wearing all black and a hoodie, curly shoulder-length hair, and then he started aiming and discharging at her. She previously thought he was using a handheld one, but which we know was not the case. She fell down at one point and thought that she was hit, but thankfully she wasn't. She saw an officer and told him that the monster appeared to be headed towards the 4th grade building and that he needed to be stopped. She believes when she told him this that he just stood there and didn't move, and she urged him to do something 2 to 3 times. She then went into the building and made sure the door was locked and that lockdown procedures were being followed, including telling the teacher to silence her phone because it was going off. They were evacuated later by an officer, and then she said the officer that she saw was pacing back and forth outside. On cross-examination, she discussed the school policy for all doors being locked. She then identified Gonzales as the officer she was talking to. She also agreed that he was getting out of his patrol vehicle as he was assessing her because she was yelling things at him. At the end of her testimony, she was marked as a witness subject to recall. What that means is that unlike other witnesses who are excused, they don't have to come back. She has to wait because she could be recalled as a witness at any time, depending on how other witnesses testify, also meaning she is still subject to being sequestered and not looking at anything. Witness number 26, Dr. Sherry Hopmeyer, was called to the stand. Now, she's a doctor who worked at the clinic near the Uvalde Memorial Hospital. They received a message that the Uvalde Memorial Hospital needed all available doctors due to the active situation. It was agreed between the parties that this witness would serve as the representative for all of the doctors. I believe they said that there was 11 doctors or 15 doctors there, but she is the representative for all of them. So she read the injuries that the patients they treated sustained. On cross-examination, she was thanked for her work and she was excused from the stand. There was a short break for the jurors, and then witness number 27, Jamie Torres, was called to the stand. Now, she's a parent of a student at the school. Her daughter was a 4th grade student. Her daughter was excited that day to receive her Good Citizen Award. She received a message later that said that the school went into lockdown and to stay away from the premises and everything was under control, and then received 2 additional notifications about a bailout situation and then an active pew-pew situation. The next time she saw her daughter was when she came home from the hospital because she had been out of town. Her daughter was in room 112 and had metal projectile fragments in her forehead and in her left thigh, which still remain to this day. This was due to the doctor saying it was safer for them to remain. On cross, the defense expressed their gratitude that her daughter survived the tragedy, and then she was excused from the stand. Number 28, Jennifer Habe was called to the stand. She's a counselor with Blue Bonnet Children's Advocacy Center in Uvalde. She counseled some of the survivors. She explained what PTSD is and what can trigger it: loud noises, colors, things like that. And then the witness from earlier was called to the stand, and that was witness number 29, Michael Whitskall. Now, he's a retired law enforcement officer and a military instructor. He discussed his curriculum for his active situation training. It's 25% lecture, 75% hands-on. He said directly when asked about waiting for backup, he said, "We've got to stop the unaliving. There's no other way I can say it, folks, okay? You can't wait for backup. There's other curriculum out there that says to wait for 2 or 3 more guys, but in his opinion, and the way that he trains people is you don't have time to wait, you've got to make a move. And that even if alone, you need to move towards the gunfire, not recklessly, but tactically." Then the jurors broke for lunch. After lunch, direct examination continued and some photos were entered into evidence of Gonzales at the training and while he was performing the skills. Cross-examination, Whitskall said that Gonzales has taken several classes with him: basic SWAT, advanced SWAT, hostage rescue, and active situation. They discussed how everything is circumstantial based and that you can't be trained on what to do in every single scenario. He was asked about the text of his manual where it said that his company does not endorse officers going at it alone, to which he wanted to clarify and say that he doesn't ever endorse an officer doing something by himself. But if people are dying, then you've got to get in there and stop it. That sounds contradictory to me, but it is what it is. He explained that doors not being locked caused campus to be more soft or vulnerable. Then there was some more back and forth between redirect and recross, and then he was excused. Witness number 31, Mercedes Salas was then called to the stand. She's a 4th grade teacher. Some of her students went home after the award ceremony, and some stayed with her and they watched a movie. She first heard a pew pew sound around 11:30, but it sounded far away, and then the second one was a lot closer. When she heard the second one, they immediately went into lockdown and paused the movie. She received the Raptor notice at 11:32. She made sure her door was locked, explaining she always has her door locked, but she wanted to triple make sure that that thing was locked. One student was standing and she told him he had to sit, and she pulled him down to the floor, and then they heard the pew pew in the hallway. She texted her family at the time about the situation. She began to pray for protection over her classroom. She could smell the gunfire. She heard screaming, then heard more pew pew sounds, and then no more screaming. Officers broke her classroom window with a baton, and she said that she knew it was officers because who else would carry a baton, and they were evacuated from the classroom. On cross-examination that was very brief, she was actually a teacher to the monster when he was in 4th grade several years before. Witness number 32, Ruby Gonzales was then called to the stand. She's a former officer with the Uvalde CISD and is now with the Uvalde Police Department. She took an active situation training at Uvalde High School, and Gonzales was an instructor. Training included one-man entry scenarios. She heard the pew-pew sounds outside her residence. Then she heard Sergeant Coronado say on the radio, "Shots fired at the school." So she grabbed her duty belt, got in her police car, and went to the school. As part of her response and help, she moved some of the cop cars so that buses could get through, and she also performed crowd control. On cross-examination, she said that she hadn't given a statement to Rangers and that she didn't hear any more shots once she had got to the school. And then on redirect, using a prior statement she gave, she said that she heard shots fired on the radio from Gonzales, not Coronado. She was then excused and there was a break for the jury. Witness number 33, Myra Landry was called to the stand. She's a 911 communication supervisor in Uvalde. She discussed the 911 call reporting the accident. And then after a short cross-examination, she was excused from the stand and the jury was sent home for the day. And that wrapped up day 7. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following along. And here's the question of the day. Noting some of the testimony that has come out today from a teacher witness saying that her door is always locked. She triple made sure it was locked. And one of the teachers involved in room 111 did not have his door locked or didn't confirm or make sure that it was locked. Do you think that the jury is going to take this into consideration when determining whether or not his actions actually caused this big thing? Or was it way more things that go together that kind of doesn't really point to him? Let me know in the comments.